sometimes we go on these journeys and forget to come back. Woo! I felt that. Well, today is a special day. Today is the third Sunday of the 7th month. Can you believe it? Over 6.5 months have gone by. Now we have about 5.5 months to make this our year for all the things that we desire. Those of you online, I really wish you were here. I recommend that you focus on your computer, on your phone, and just close your eyes and hear the message. And feel that you're here with us. And act as though you're a part of this experience. If you can do that, you'll be touched. You'll be blessed. We have some visitors today. You know, the problem of sitting in front, you can't see all the visitors. So the visitors, raise your hands today. I said, yes. Let's give the visitors a big hand. Thank you. Wow. We appreciate you, and be sure to get one of our welcome packets. And there's a little form in there to fill out if you'd love for us to contact you and, speak with you. Because this is your family. This is your new family. We have an open adoption. You come once, you're in the family. You come twice, we love you. So we're on the way. Our topic for today is one that I love because it's so personal. I have an affirmation that sort of sets us up. And it says, I am ready to break the molds that hold me captive. Let us say that together. I am ready to break the molds that hold me captive. Whatever's holding you back, you can break it. I'm ready for a brand new me. Together. I'm ready for a brand new me. You know, the theme of July is gifts from God. And one of the most profound gifts of God is taken from Romans, the 12th chapter, the 2nd verse, and it says this. Be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. So God has given us the gift of thought, the gift of using our thoughts to create the life that we want to live. That's powerful. I mean, that makes us so unique among all the things in creation. We're the only one that builds stuff. I haven't seen that one alligator apartment house yet. And even though some of the, squirrels are very diligent, they gather up their nuts, but they aren't making any music. So man has this unique capacity to create the world in the image of our thoughts. That means that you don't have to stay stuck. The second law of success is the law of change. The second law of life, be not conformed to this world. That whatever is binding you, whatever is not good, whatever you don't want in your life, you can change it by changing your thinking. That's an awesome power. Many of us are afraid of that power. We undermine our own power by doubting that it can be done. I was teaching a group of ministers, and it's tough to teach ministers. And we were going over scripture where Jesus said, all these things I do and more, you can do too. And so I said, so you can walk on water. Hold on, Reverend. We can't walk on water. What do you mean you can't walk on water? That's impossible. But Jesus said you could. Yeah, but Jesus didn't mean that. In other words, very often we find ways to undermine our own potential by self-doubt, by thinking that we don't deserve it, by thinking that we can't become it. So this topic of break the mold, the subtext says, are you stuck in who you used to be? The scripture says, to all things there's a season. So many times we have a season for what we do. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. We missed you. You gotta be sitting up in that front. That's my buddy. I love it. We have the ability to change who we were. Many times we had to do things in our lives to get along, to keep the peace, to keep stuff flowing and going, but you don't want to be stuck there. You know, people can get into such a habit of limitation. They say if you take a jar of fleas, and if you put a top on the jar, the old mason jar, young people don't know what that is, but it's a jar that you screw the top on. And you put it in a mason jar and you leave them there for a certain amount of time, that if you take the top off, those fleas can't jump out. So, well, why is that? Because they have concluded in their minds, they have bumped their heads on that top enough to say that hurts, and we're not jumping any higher than right here, because otherwise you're going to get your head bumped. And so very often we create those paradigms to get along and make stuff happen, and then we get stuck in it. I have a beautiful affirmation. I am free to grow, evolve, and express the Christ in me. I'll say it, you repeat after me. I am free to grow.
I am free to grow.
Evolve. And express the Christ in me.
Express Christ in me.
Now this is one of the differences between the Unity and some of the other churches. I mean, not that anyone's right or wrong, but it's just a different perspective. You know, that first Unity principle says, we were talking about that there's only one cause, God, the good omnipotent. And that everything is created by God, and so therefore everything is good. And so Christ represents the perfected man, the perfected mind. You know, you have the homomorphic Christ, you know, the personage of Christ, but you have the Christ principle. And that's what we're talking about, that if we are created by God, then that means that within us is every potential for every possibility. There's nothing you cannot do. That's why in the book of John, the 8th chapter, it says, know the truth, and the truth shall do what? Set you free. And so these are some of the truths we talk about here in Unity. And the truth of who you are, that you are a spiritual being having a human manifestation. And so therefore you're always spirit, you're always a spiritual being, you're always a creation of God. So if your condition doesn't reflect your heritage, sometimes with the prodigal son, when the prodigal son was in the pig pen of life, his condition didn't reflect his heritage. And that's a powerful thing. When you recognize your heritage, that you are created by an all-knowing, all-powerful God, then nothing is impossible. So then what is this mold stuff? A mold is a mindset. It's not a physical thing, it's a mindset. It's a mindset that we choose to accept. I hear people say, well, I'm only a housewife, and act like that's a demeaning position. You ever try to run a house? You know, a housewife has to do everything the husband does, but do it backwards and carrying 2 babies. Think about this. Have you seen it? Well, y'all know y'all have seen a lady that has a child on one hip, cooking over here with pots and pans and things going over there. Women invented multitasking. And so this idea of a mold, I'm only a, it's a limitation that we place on ourselves. And there are all kinds of molds. My folks have always been broke. I'm not worthy. These are all things that we accept. Many of them had to be done. Now, in the past, there was the mold of parenting, where we had to protect our children. So think about it. The first 3 words you tell your child is no, stop, and don't. And then shut up. And yet, we had to do that to protect them. But then, as they get a little older now, they can understand the need for that protection. Some of us get stuck in the mold of being a parent forever. And we put ourselves in a position where our kids never learn how to fly. I've been guilty of that. Trying to protect them from the bumps of the road. And then one day it dawned on me, if I'm not here and there's a bump in the road, what are they going to do? Sometimes it's the mold of being a child. There are many of us that never grow up. We keep waiting for somebody else to take care of the problem. Waiting for somebody else to solve it. In my house are many mansions. Yeah, well, go stay with him. So, this idea of a mold is a state of mind that has a season. Most of the molds we find ourselves in have a reason, and they have a season. So it may be a mold of past hurt, trauma, where things happen that are just tragic and terrible, and that's like that prodigal son again. It may be the pig pen of life, but you don't belong there. And so break that mold to go back to where you belong as a child of God. It may be the mold of somebody else's expectations. Whew, that's a tough mold. Because all of us, I think we have a pleasing nature. We try to please the people around us. And when those expectations may not be good for us, other people's expectations are really based on their level of consciousness. But when we interpret it like it's talking about us. No. That mold of criticism. I always share that my mother was very critical. And so that mold of criticism can put you in a state where you are a little afraid to take action. That mold of criticism needs to be broken. And when you realize that criticism doesn't mean anything. What's that book? I don't care what you think about me. And so this idea of break the mold is like, get rid of these thoughts of lack, of limitation, of pain, of trauma, of anything that does not make you feel good. Eleanor Roosevelt said something very powerful. She said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Now, as a child, that's complicated because a child looks to a parent as an authority figure. So when your mother tells you, boy, you are dumb as a box of rocks, it has a different impact. And many times you can have those thoughts and those traumas early in life, and they'll stay there for years and years until one day you realize, I own the box. So the idea is, one of the great unity principles is that the past has no power over you unless you give it power. I'll say it, you repeat after me. The past, no, let's put it in the personal. My past has no power over me.
My past has no power over me.
Unless I give it consent.
Unless I give it consent.
And I withdraw consent.
And I withdraw consent.
We are spiritual beings. And so therefore a role or a mold doesn't really apply. We are not bound by age, by background. In other words, we are created by God. So we come here with everything we need to get anything we want. Anything that's contrary to that is learned behavior. Children come here as a clean slate, and they get messed up by their parents half the time, or people close to them, because the people don't clearly understand who they are, and so they can only share knowledge based on their level of experience, a level of consciousness. So there's a possibility in us that we are expressing. I think the goal in unity is to express the Christ principle, which says keep getting better, keep growing, keep learning. That every obstacle that comes in your way is for a purpose. There would be no David if Goliath had not shown up. We know nothing about David. We wouldn't even know that he existed. And so many times in our lives, the challenges that we face are to bring out the Goliath, bring out the David in us, to bring out the Christ in us, that ability to say, hey, I don't deserve anything that's not good for me. I only want good things, good ideas, good health. So how do we break the mold? Number one, you got to identify. If you can't identify it, you can't fix it. So if an inferiority complex based on criticism, then I say, okay, you know what? I've been really selling myself short because I grew up in a critical environment. So I'm always waiting for somebody to say, but. So say, hey, you won the contest, but nobody else was in it but you. How could you lose? Okay? And so you have to name the mold, whatever it is, a mold of dependency, a mold of living in other people's expectations, a mold of past trauma. You know what the mold is. Identify, and it's a good idea to write it down. I mean, it was really liberating to me with my mother to say that my mold was no common sense. That was my whole mold. And I lived that for many years, no common sense. Anybody have that problem? Okay. But no common sense means that I would do silly stuff. I'd leave my keys. I'd lock the door. I mean, just silly stuff. And then one day when I realized, someone said to me, why do you do that? You're a successful person. You do this, that, and the other, and yet you do silly stuff. It seemed like when they said it was like, you're right. Why did I do that? Once I identified that. Because normally I would never tell you about my mother, but it's instruction. Now I understand it. That was her nature. Everybody has their own nature. There's some people that are too hurt to help. So understand that. That's okay. Because they need another level of attention. But once you recognize it, then you can, number two, you can fix it by affirming the truth of who you are. And so when the prodigal son was in the pig pen of life, he said this, in my Father's house, there's food enough and more. And so whatever condition you're in right now, you are a child of God, and so whatever that condition, there's a better, you deserve better. So if your finances are messed up, I'm a child of God, I deserve abundance. If your relationships are messed up, you're a child of God, I deserve love and loving relationships. Use affirmations to reprogram yourself, to create that new you. So I am confident. I have common sense. Any one thing that you'd like to affirm, anybody just think for a moment. I am, something that you want to be. I'm going to count to 3 and just shout it out. Just say, I am. I'm going to tell you, I am happy. Okay. So I'm going to count to 3. Together, I am healthy. So it is through these affirmations that we are able to reprogram ourselves. Most of our conditions, of negative condition, is negative programming that somebody else has really put in front of us and we've accepted. So now we take the driver's seat. I affirm I am free, renewed, and spirit guided. Let's say that together. I am free, renewed, and spirit guided. I am a victor and not a victim. Together. I am a victor and not a victim. The third key is a real spiritual principle, is to enter the silence. The moment you have declared your freedom, a part of that now is, this is a difference from what you were doing before. And so where do you get guidance? And that's why they say, go into the closet of your mind. Be still and know. Be still and know whatever it is that complements what you want to be. So be still and know that I'm a beloved child of God. Be still and know that I am healthy. Be still and know that I am loving. In other words, whatever it is that you want to be, to neutralize any mold that's holds you back, is you say it, you affirm it, and you feel it. And when you go into the silence, you can see it, you can visualize it, and you can create it. And then the fourth key to breaking the mold is to take action. To take action based on faith. You know, there's a scripture that says, let the weak say, I am strong. So, well, how do you manifest that? You manifest that by taking one step. And so the moment you create this new you, this new vision, out of this broken mold into the new person that you want to be, it's like coming out of a 12-step program. Just do one day at a time. One step at a time. And you can take that step based on faith. And that's why the scripture says, now know the truth, and the truth will set you free once you know that you have the power. Once you identify the thing that's holding you back. Once you affirm the new you. Once you go into the silence and see it, then you can act on it. All you need is the faith to make one step at a time, and it is done. So let me summarize today. I hope this was helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Yes? I know I stepped on my own toes. That's why I wore these shoes. But that's it. When you give a message sometime and it's real personal, you look at your own feet and you go, boy, I sure stepped on my toes today. But to summarize, a mold is a mindset that we permit to define us. And anything we permit, we can change. It may have served us in the past, but it has a season. Its limitations are over. That we break the mold by identifying the mold, by affirming the truth of who we are, by going into that silence of accepting spiritual guidance, and then by taking faithful action.